In this segment, Matt talks more specifically about data science and about the surprising aspects of data science. The data can challenge our assumptions more directly than narratives can. Data makes us think differently when the things we see in the data don't match what we believe from the data, and how data can surprise us.
Hey, if we look at Virginia payroll, government payroll from 2003 to 2020, how would we expect payroll to change? And my just hunch instinct was that I expected it to go up tremendously over 20 years of just government creep. And what I found that it was a very insignificant number. So if we have 2003 is just over 5 billion, that here in 2017 would have been 6 billion, which is insignificant, like very small increase overall. So much so that I said, I want to map this against inflation just to see if it's even keeping up with inflation. So the red line is 2003 inflated, and blue is actual payroll expense. And what you can see from this is that not only has the payroll not ballooned, it hasn't even kept up in a sense of value. It hasn't even kept up with the value of inflation.
Yep.
So a friend of mine asked me at that point, okay, is that because people are getting less take-home value, or is it because there's less people? Because this is not on a per person basis. The number of employees was not quite as readily available. So I was able to find the data of employees for only 4 years, 17, 18, 19, 20. And the payroll first employees doesn't exactly map to each other perfectly, but I can see that employees is going down on a consistent trend, which blew my mind.
Yeah.
I even did the calculation of what's the value between red and blue in this instance. What's the value, I guess, of you could call it savings.
Yes.
And it was some over the 17 years, I think it was something like $9 billion of savings compared to the inflation line.
Yeah.
Sort of interesting.
Well, so right there, you have decisions that can be made based upon the data. The data speaks back at you in a way that defied your beliefs. Measure of reality, the quantification of the West from 1400 to 1600. And the author in that book talks about how data can, and narratives might challenge our beliefs, but data and these kinds of points that you're pointing out can challenge our beliefs even farther. Because if it doesn't fit what we think the narrative is, we have to change to understand what the data is really telling us. And that's what the power of what you just see there and your reaction to that.
As a side note and a tangent, I was looking through some Tableau visualizations, some of the grades that I want to copy or even take notes from. And one of them was, how diverse is your state? And so it had all the states and diversity. And I'm from Utah, and I feel like Utah's not very diverse. And so I was going into it looking at that. And so it was apparently states and territories. And number one least diverse was Maine. Or number two least diverse was Maine. And number one least diverse was Puerto Rico. It's because everyone in Puerto Rico is Puerto Rican. And that was like just totally nowhere near what I would have expected from the data.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's the point of this data science, right? That's the value that you now have learned how to bring that to somebody else, to make sure that the data is talking back and that their view of the world is what really is happening in the world.
Absolutely.